Welcome to Forklift Operator Training. In this course, you'll learn how to operate powered industrial trucks safely, efficiently, and in compliance with OSHA standards. Forklifts are essential tools in the workplace, but when used incorrectly, they can lead to serious injuries or worse. And this training is designed to give you the knowledge and awareness you need to do the job safely, every time. In this training, we'll cover the key knowledge you need to operate a forklift safely. You'll learn about the different types of powered industrial trucks and their attachments. We'll walk through the components of a proper pre-shift inspection. You'll also learn safe driving and loading practices to help prevent incidents. And finally, we'll cover the stability pyramid and how load capacity impacts safe operation. These are our non-negotiable safety rules. These are not suggestions. These are expectations that must be followed at all times. Seatbelts are required. Riders are not allowed. Phones and distractions are not permitted while operating. Always use your horn at intersections and blind spots. Pedestrians have the right of way. Operators must stop and yield. Forklifts are never to be used to open overhead doors or lift dock plates. And if a forklift is damaged or unsafe, it is not to be used. These rules are in place to prevent serious injuries. Forklifts are powerful tools, but they can also cause serious injuries in just a few seconds. Many serious incidents involve pedestrians, trailer loading, and unloading dock areas or unstable loads. Safe operation takes more than knowing how to move the equipment. It requires focus, good judgment, and following the rules every time. This training is designed to help you recognize hazards, understand expectations, and operate safely. In this training, we will cover the key topics needed to operate a forklift safely and effectively. We'll begin with an introduction to powered industrial trucks, including types of equipment and basic concepts. Next, we'll review inspection procedures to ensure equipment is safe to operate. We'll then cover safe operating practices, followed by proper loading techniques. Finally, we'll discuss equipment and attachment safety to help you understand how different configurations affect operation. Each of these sections is designed to help you recognize hazards and operate safely on the job. Powered industrial trucks, commonly known as forklifts, are used to carry and move materials in a variety of work environments.
They can be operated by a seated driver or as a walking operator, depending on the type of equipment. Forklifts may be powered by electric batteries or internal combustion engines. It's important to understand that forklifts are designed specifically for material handling and do not include equipment used for earth moving or over-the-road transportation. Always follow all applicable safety regulations, including any additional requirements set by your local or state agencies.
Forklift operators must be properly trained and evaluated before operating equipment. Training includes the principles of forklift operation and a review of hazards and controls. Operators must then demonstrate competency on the specific equipment they will use. Once completed, certification must be documented, including the operator's name, training date, evaluation date, and instructor. These are the different classifications of forklifts, each designed for specific types of work and environments. Class 1 includes electric rider trucks, commonly used indoors. Class 2 are narrow aisle trucks, designed for tight warehouse spaces. Class 3 are electric hand trucks, operated while walking. Classes 4 and 5 are internal combustion forklifts, used indoors or outdoors depending on the tire type. Class 6 includes tractors used for towing. Class 7 are rough terrain forklifts designed for outdoor use on uneven surfaces. You will only operate the specific type of equipment you are trained and authorized to use. When selecting a forklift, several factors must be considered to ensure safe operation. First, consider the weight and size of the load. Always use a forklift with sufficient capacity and only use manufacturer-approved attachments. Next, consider the terrain. Be aware of surface conditions, grades, and stability. Use solid tires for indoor surfaces and pneumatic tires for outdoor environments. Finally, consider the environment. A hazard assessment should be completed to determine the appropriate equipment. Do not use internal combustion forklifts in poorly ventilated areas, and use specially rated equipment in combustible or flammable environments. Selecting the right equipment is critical to safe operation. Refresher training is required to ensure operators continue to work safely over time. If an operator is observed using a forklift in an unsafe manner or is involved in an accident or near miss, refresher training must be completed. It is also required if the operator is assigned to a different type of forklift, fails an evaluation, or if changes in the workplace could affect safe operation. At a minimum, all operators must complete refresher training every 3 years. Forklift incidents occur every year, and many of them result in serious injuries. The most common types include transportation-related incidents struck by hazards, slips, trips and falls, and collisions with objects. These incidents often happen quickly and are usually the result of poor visibility, lack of awareness, or failure to follow safe operating procedures. Understanding these risks is the first step in preventing them. This slide shows the common components of a forklift. As an operator, you must be familiar with these parts and understand their function. These components will be checked during your pre-shift inspection to ensure the equipment is safe to operate. If any part is damaged or not functioning properly, the forklift must be removed from service. Pre-use inspections are required before operating a forklift. Use a checklist based on the manufacturer's guidelines and complete the inspection daily. All inspections and maintenance must be documented. Never operate a forklift that needs repair. If any issue is found, remove the equipment from service immediately and do not operate it until it has been repaired and approved. Begin your visual inspection by looking for any obvious issues. Check under the forklift for hydraulic leaks and note any missing or malfunctioning parts. Inspect hoses and fittings for damage or leaks, and check the chains for proper condition. Ensure the overhead guard, mast, and backrest are not damaged. Also examine any attachments for wear or deformities. If any issue is found, remove the forklift from service and do not operate it until it has been repaired. During the inspection, review the location of the operational pedals. Confirm that all controls are functioning properly. Check that the steering responds correctly and does not have excessive play. Test the brakes to ensure they stop the forklift smoothly and reliably. If any of these systems are not working properly, remove the equipment from service. Inspect the forks for wear, cracks, and overall condition. If a fork is worn more than 10% from its original thickness, it must be replaced. Look for surface cracks, especially in the heel area where the fork bends. Check that both forks are straight and even. Uneven fork tips may indicate damage. Also confirm that locking pins are in place and functioning properly. If any defects are found, remove the forklift from service. Check all fluid levels during your inspection. This includes coolant, battery fluid, fuel, hydraulic fluid, transmission fluid, and oil. Low or dirty fluids can lead to equipment failure or unsafe operation. If any fluids are low or contaminated, they must be serviced according to the manufacturer's instructions. If you are unsure, report the issue and do not operate the equipment. Check all safety systems to ensure they are present and working properly. This includes seatbelts, lights, mirrors, and fire extinguishers if required. Confirm that the horn and all alarms are functioning and can be heard over background noise. Check that fuel tank pins and fittings are secure. Inspect the overhead guard to ensure it is stable and capable of protecting the operator. Also confirm that the load backrest is properly attached and in good condition to prevent materials from falling toward the operator. If any safety system is not working properly, remove the forklift from service. Inspect all four tires for cracks, damage, and wear. Document any issues on your inspection checklist and report them for replacement. If the forklift has pneumatic tires, check the air pressure to ensure it meets the manufacturer's specifications. If tire conditions are unsafe, remove the forklift from service. Forklifts are much heavier than cars and they handle very differently. That's why driving slowly is critical to staying in control. A few things make forklifts tricky to operate. Their center of gravity changes depending on the load or attachments. They don't have suspension, so bumps and surface changes can throw them off. They steer from the rear, meaning turns feel delayed, and the back end swings wide. And finally, they take longer to stop, so always think ahead. Before operating a forklift, plan your route of travel.
Be aware of ramps, blind spots, intersections, and tight turns. Identify any hazards in your path and make sure your travel path is clear. Also, prepare your set point and ensure it is within the safe reach of the forklift. Planning ahead helps prevent incidents before they occur.
Forklifts operate differently than automobiles and require greater control and awareness. Always drive at a speed that allows you to stop safely. Keep your forks low and tilt the load back while traveling. Stop at intersections, sound your horn, and always look in the direction of travel. There are also actions that must be avoided. Never travel with an elevated load, pass at intersections, or turn on ramps. Do not use the forklift to push or tow, and never place any part of your body outside the operator area. Following these rules helps maintain control and prevent serious incidents. Always enter and exit the forklift using a three-point stance. Never jump, and keep steps and floor areas clear. Always wear your seatbelt while operating the forklift. Passengers are only allowed if the equipment is designed with an approved seat. In the event of a tip over, do not jump. Stay in the seat, plant your feet, hold the steering wheel, and lean away from the direction of the tip. Following these practices helps reduce the risk of serious injury. If your load blocks your view, travel in reverse to maintain visibility. Use a spotter when needed, especially in tight or congested areas. Slow down and stay alert where visibility is limited. Always watch for overhead and side clearance. If you cannot clearly see your path of travel, do not move the forklift. When operating a forklift, your view may be restricted by the mast, cage, or the load you are carrying. Always stay aware of overhead and side clearance, especially near racks, doorways, loading docks, and ramps. Use horns, lights, and alarms to alert others to your presence. If your load blocks your view, travel in reverse and use a spotter when needed. Maintain a safe distance from other forklifts, pedestrians, and hazards at all times. When operating on inclines, always keep the load pointed uphill. If you are carrying a load, drive forward up the incline and in reverse when going down. If you are not carrying a load, drive in reverse up the incline and forward when going down. Never turn on an incline, and always travel slowly to maintain control. Following these rules helps prevent tip overs and loss of control. When refueling a forklift, follow proper safety procedures, turn off the engine before refueling, and wear appropriate personal protective equipment. Make sure the area is well ventilated and free from ignition sources. Never smoke or allow sparks near the refueling area. Check for leaks before restarting the equipment. When possible, refuel in designated areas or outdoors to reduce the risk of exposure and fire. Before entering a trailer, make sure it is properly secured using wheel chocks, a dock lock, or a restraint system. Confirm that the dock plate is correctly positioned and stable. Inspect the trailer floor for damage and ensure there is adequate lighting inside the trailer. During operation, enter the trailer straight and at a slow speed. Watch for any trailer movement and stay alert for gaps, edges, or uneven surfaces. If conditions are not safe, do not enter the trailer. Do not enter a trailer unless it is safe. If the trailer is not secured, the dock plate is unstable, or the trailer floor is damaged, do not enter. If the trailer is separating from the dock or lighting is insufficient, do not proceed. These conditions create a high risk of serious injury. If any of these hazards are present, stop and report the issue before continuing. Pedestrian safety is a critical part of forklift operation. Pedestrians have the right of way, and operators must stop and yield. If a pedestrian enters your path, stop and do not move until the area is clear. Make eye contact before moving to ensure the pedestrian sees you. Use your horn at intersections and blind spots and never travel if you cannot clearly see your path. Always maintain a safe distance to prevent struck by incidents. Only trained employees are permitted to charge forklift batteries. Charging should be completed before the battery drops below the manufacturer's recommended level to prevent damage. Before charging, turn off the forklift and set the parking brake. Always wear the appropriate personal protective equipment. Keep metal tools and jewelry away from the battery to prevent electrical hazards. Ensure that vent caps are in place and not plugged. Open battery and compartment covers to allow heat to dissipate during charging. When handling battery acid, always pour acid into water. Never water into acid, to avoid a dangerous reaction. Once complete, make sure the battery is properly secured in the correct position before returning the forklift to service. As part of forklift operator training, OSHA requires that workplace-specific information be reviewed. This includes understanding the surface conditions where the forklift will be operated. Operators must also be aware of the type and stability of loads being handled, as well as proper techniques for loading, stacking, and unstacking. It is important to recognize pedestrian traffic in the work area and be aware of narrow aisles or restricted spaces. Operators must also identify hazardous locations, including areas with ramps or sloped surfaces that can affect stability. In enclosed environments, be aware of ventilation to prevent the buildup of carbon monoxide or diesel exhaust. Finally, always consider any other unique conditions in your workplace that could impact safe forklift operation. Before lifting any load, take a moment to examine the material. If it contains hazardous materials, make sure you are properly trained and have access to the Safety Data Sheet, or SDS. Arrange the load for stability by placing the heaviest items closest to the backrest. Set the forks as wide as possible to support the load evenly. Approach the load slowly and directly to maintain control. Keep the mast vertical until the load is fully seated against the backrest. Then lift the load just high enough to clear the floor and tilt it back to secure it. When loading trailers or rail cars, forklifts are often driven up ramps, known as dock boards. If the trailer is not properly secured and shifts, the dock board can collapse while the forklift is on it. Before entering, always stabilize the trailer. Chock the wheels and lock the axle to prevent movement. If the trailer is not attached to a tractor, use jack stands to prevent it from tipping. If a tractor is attached, control the keys to ensure no one moves the trailer during loading. Always check the dock board, trailer floor, and interior for any hazards before entering. Also use caution when operating internal combustion forklifts inside trailers or rail cars, and ensure proper ventilation to prevent exhaust buildup. When you arrive at your destination and are ready to unload, position the forklift squarely in front of the placement area before raising the mast. Do not lift and turn at the same time. Verify that the load is stable and that there are no overhead obstructions. Raise the load to the appropriate height and only tilt it forward once it is directly over the placement area. Once the load is set down, back out slowly with the mast raised and level. Lower the mast only after it is completely clear of the load. To understand forklift stability, think of a triangle formed by the two front wheels and the center of the rear axle. This triangle is known as the stability pyramid. The combined center of gravity of both the forklift and the load must stay within this triangle at all times. If the center of gravity moves outside of this area, the forklift can tip over. This is why proper load placement, smooth operation, and controlled movements are critical to safe operation. Several factors can increase the risk of a tip over. including raising the load too high, adding excessive weight, driving too fast, and sudden stops or turns. To keep the forklift's center of gravity within the stability pyramid, always operate with control. Drive slowly, especially when turning or coming to a stop. Do not tilt the forks forward unless you are actively loading or unloading. Tilt the load back only enough to keep it stable. Always travel with the load as low to the ground as possible. And most importantly, know and follow the equipment's weight limits at all times. To safely operate a forklift, you must know the weight of the load. There are several ways to determine this. Check the shipping documentation whenever it is available. Look for weight information directly on the product or packaging. You can also reference standard weight and measurement guidelines. Be sure to account for the weight of any attachments as they reduce the forklift's overall capacity. Always verify your forklift's limits by checking the capacity plate before lifting. Hand-operated pallet trucks use a pump handle to lift and move palletized loads. Only trained employees should operate pallet trucks. Before use, complete a pre-shift inspection to ensure the equipment is in safe working condition. Plan your path of travel and your set point before moving the load. Operate slowly and with control, especially in tight spaces to avoid pinning injuries. If a problem occurs, release the controls. The brake will engage automatically and bring the truck to a stop. Only use attachments that are designed and approved by the manufacturer. Attachments can change the forklift's capacity, so it is important to understand the weight limits both with and without the attachment installed. Make sure capacity plates are in place and clearly show how the attachment affects safe operation. Never use slings, chains, or cables attached directly to the forks, as this can create unstable and unsafe lifting conditions. Work platforms are used to safely raise employees, but never lift someone directly on the forks. Only use platforms that are designed and certified by the manufacturer or a qualified engineer. Make sure the platform is securely attached to the forks before use. It must include proper guardrails, fall protection, and clearly marked capacity limits. And remember, anyone on a work platform must be continuously monitored by the forklift operator. Powered industrial trucks are incredibly useful, but they can also be deadly if used incorrectly. That's why proper training and certification are critical for every operator. Choosing the right equipment and completing a thorough pre-shift inspection sets the foundation for safe operation. From how you prepare to how you drive, refuel, and handle loads, every step matters. And when you understand key concepts like the stability pyramid and load capacity limits, you greatly reduce the risk of incidents. At the end of the day, safe operation isn't just about compliance, it's about protecting yourself and the people around you. Now that you've completed this training, here's what happens next. You'll receive hands-on training on the specific equipment you'll be operating. You'll need to demonstrate that you can operate safely and confidently. A qualified trainer will evaluate your performance. And remember, you are not authorized to operate a forklift until you have been officially approved.